Good evening, everybody. I'm Derek Michaud, and it is time to go flush in the pocket. And tonight, this is the first because first female on Flush in the Pocket, and also the first time that I'm actually going to bring her on midstream. So she is getting her tripod ready. She said it fell apart. I think it turned from a tripod into like a two pod or whatever. Uh, Anyway, I will be having Mallory Clark on in just a moment. But first, before we do that, I want to say happy birthday to PBA Hall of Famer, Brunswick staffer, just the biggest ambassador Brunswick's ever had. And, one of the biggest ambassadors bowling has ever had, Johnny Petraglia. Happy 76th birthday, Johnny Petraglia. And it's easy to remember Johnny's birthday because it's exactly a week after mine, except for on leap year. So we got one viewer who's already, ready to go and get some questions in and make some comments and have a good time for about an hour or so. And tonight, well, we are going to have our second year. She's going to be starting her second year on the PWBA tour. And she is very well known in my state, the state of Maine. And here she is. I'm Mallory.
Hello.
How are you? Hold on one second. I don't like this. Give me 1 second. There we go. I have you. I can hear you in my headphones now instead of on my speakers. So before I was starting the introduction, so let's figure out your resume. You've got two NEBA titles. You've got a handful of Miss titles, which Maine Invitational Scratch Tournament.
I actually don't have any of those.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I made her cry on
times.
Awkward. No, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
I've been close a few times, but
yeah. So, second year on the PWBA tour. Please help me welcome Mallory Clark. How are you?
I am wonderful. I had to lock myself in the bedroom because the kitten is being a terrorist, but doing good.
Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, Mallory and I actually know each other. Is the kitten being a terrorist or is Jimmy being a terrorist?
Jimmy's not even here. Jimmy's at bowling, so it's actually the kitten today.
You sure? You check under the bed. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, right?
So I just said happy birthday to Johnny Petraglia. I mean, Johnny. Have you met Johnny? Do you have a good Johnny Petraglia story or anything like that?
I do. I've been to dinner with him a few times when they've come to Maine, and he is one of my favorite people to go to dinner with and listen to his stories. Mm-hmm. Two that I remember in particular, he was telling us once about before inserts were a thing, how mm-hmm. they would cut chunks of garden hose and like Elmer's glue it into the bowling ball. Mm-hmm. And then another one was before there was tiered tape, like before that you had individual pieces of tape that you could buy like on a roller in a pack. He would cut it and tear it on his shoe so he could take off pieces whenever he needed it for his thumb hole. But he is just the most fascinating person to listen to. I could listen to his stories for hours.
Absolutely. So I will share my favorite Johnny story. I don't really have many. Of course, I was in a trivia contest with his son back in 2020. But we were, obviously you remember the Brunswick mini camps that were in Augusta for, I don't know, a few years. The second year they were there, when they do their speeches and whatnot, Johnny was in the middle of giving his, and he just stopped in his tracks and said, "Hey, I just want to mention real quick, Derek has, you improved from last year. And I'm really proud of you." So, I mean, that's something he'll be long since gone, and I'll still tell that story. So
that's awesome.
That is totally awesome. So let me ask you this before we get started. How close were you to backing out of this after last night?
No, actually, I couldn't see the score. We were at league and the TVs are kind of small. Okay. And I wasn't like close enough to one, but I think it was like the second period. I'm like, are those still zeros? I have a chance. There's hope.
So let me ask you this, and guys, like I said, we know each other. So, and I've also come to the realization that we've actually never had a chance to sit down and actually chat, even in person.
Yeah.
But I remember when I hate bowling when the Bruins are on. I hate it. Just don't like it. I remember one Monday night I was bowling at the sports arena, and it was a Bruins playoff game. It was game 7 against Montreal. Everybody's telling me the score. And I'm like, guys, I'm taping it. And this was before TiVo. This was a
Oh,
VCR.
oh
This
gosh.
was, so I had to go home, wait for the tape to stop, rewind it. And it was just, it was
Oh my
awful.
gosh.
So yeah. And I bowled terrible then. I hate.
It's like, la, 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 don't tell me.
Yeah. Just don't freaking tell me. So yeah, second year on the PWBA tour. Are you ready? Are you ready for the questions? Are you ready for the season? What's more nerve-wracking for you?
Well, I don't know. I hopefully I'm ready for the questions. I think I know myself all right to answer the questions. The tour, I'm excited. I'm less nervous than last year. Last year, obviously being my first year, was nerve-wracking. I had bowled a stop or two before. I'd bowled Queens a few times. I bowled the US Open way before I was ready to bowl it. Years ago when it was at Carolier, which I think is a Bolero now in New Jersey. And I bowled the tour stop in Albany the year before I joined the tour full time. Okay. I give my season last year like a C+. I didn't make any cuts, but I was close a lot. And I feel like I learned a lot. And to me, it was a lot of getting comfortable. It's different than bowling league. It's different than bowling tournaments here because you're a PWBA member and that makes you a professional athlete. And everyone watching, whether they know you or not, expects you to be awesome. And if you have an off day, you feel like you disappointed people or you let people down. So I'm hoping to go in with a little more confidence this year, and the jitters are kind of gone. So I'm hoping this year will be a better year.
Yeah, there you go. So I don't know if you've ever seen one of these episodes, but what I do is I have, of course, the list of questions, and I've interviewed guys like Parker and Danny Wiseman. With those guys, I know those guys really well, and I know you fairly well as well. A lot of times I'll go off the sheet and we'll talk about something. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you've got some time, let's go right into this. So I know that you're not ever supposed to ask a woman how old they are, but how old are you?
I'm 37.
37. Okay. So there'll be a reason. How did you start bowling?
When I was 10 or 11, I believe it was 5th grade, my mom started dating Sean Grass, and his family had bowled their entire lives, all of them. We went bowling one night together, my brother, my mother, and Sean and I, and I was a softball pitcher growing up, so the motion of throwing a ball underhand straight was relatively natural to me. So Sean convinced me to bowl Saturday mornings. I did it more for the social aspect than anything because, as you know, I played hockey before. And that was kind of my focus. I was going to play hockey in college, and I knew I wasn't really going to be able to keep bowling when I was in college. So I actually took almost 10 years off from bowling between my senior year in high school in 2003 and coming back to Maine in 2012.
Yeah. I met you in 2012 when you did come back, because I remember Jimmy and I were going to States in Lewiston, and he said, "Oh, I got to pick Mallory up." And I didn't know who Mallory was at this point, and I had no idea that you would become, his forever, which is awesome. But yeah. So, I mean, that I definitely remember that. Did you have a good coach?
I absolutely have a fantastic coach now. As you know, my husband is a silver level coach with USBC. He is a fantastic coach. When I was growing up, I had a lot of supportive coaches. My stepdad, Sean, was a fantastic coach when I was younger. I think because I wasn't really taking it very seriously when I was younger, it was more, I'm okay at it, so I'll just keep doing it. I wasn't really looking to improve, I guess. It was just, I got a little bit better here and there, but nothing drastic or spectacular. So I'd say the coaching I've gotten from Jimmy in the last few years, 10 years now, has probably been the best coaching that I've gotten.
Okay. So when you met Jimmy, were you like still in the I just want to do this for fun. I don't really want to be anything in this. I just want to bowl for fun. And then when and well, no, look, I can do this to your game. I can do that to your game. And how did that go about?
So I actually met Jimmy in youth league. I bowled a few years, maybe 1 or 2 years with him, I think, before he aged out of Yaba. And I have this running joke that because Jimmy's always been tall, bald, always looked a lot older than he was when we were kids. So when we would bowl, like I think it was Coca-Cola back then, it's Pepsi now. We would bowl Coca-Cola and the boys would be at one end and the girls would be at the other end, and he just towered over everybody. And I would say to my mother, that guy's like 30. Why is he bowling in youth league? And so when I left to go to college, we didn't really stay in touch. And then I stayed for another 5 years in Buffalo. And when I moved home, I think I was home for like maybe a day and a half. And I got a message from him that someone had left his Tuesday night team in Augusta and he needed another bowler. So he asked if I wanted to bowl. I was like, I have shoes. Like, I don't have a ball anymore. I don't have anything. I have shoes. So he hooked me up with a ball. And at first it was just something we got to do together. And then I think I wore this like old mongoose wrist brace and I always wanted to stop wearing it. So that was like where it first started, was I'm like, well, teach me how to throw it better without this. And then I got the itch to like, oh, I can get better at this. So kind of escalated from there.
So I'm a Jimmy fan, and I know that this podcast is about your career, but I definitely need to share my favorite Jimmy story. I think it was January 8 of 2000. We're bowling at Heritage Bowling Center, Sports Arena, whatever the hell you want to call it, right? And it's his last year of YABA. So, and they were doing like 2-person teams. So he and I were on a team. Well, on this particular day, we were bowling on 19 and 20, and I don't know, like I literally, like I thought Jimmy was God way back in the day, we were bowling on 19 and 20. I think the third game, as a matter of fact, I know the third game, he shoots 300. And then we're getting ready to go to Skowhegan for, I don't know if you ever bowled Ben Johnson's travel tournaments.
Yep.
Okay. So we go to Skowhegan and I won that tournament. I won the handicap division and I shot 201 scratch. And I don't know, like Jimmy shooting 300, like that just tore me up. And I was just like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. And,
you were amped.
Yeah, I was totally amped. And, so that is totally awesome. What is it? So like I said, I mentioned, I met you in 2012 when we were going to Lewiston. When did you become a good bowler, and what were your scores before Jimmy, took a handle of your game?
So when I came back in 2012, I want to say I was averaging maybe like 170. It wasn't anything special. My game was a mess. We've actually joked about, we want to put together a kind of progression video because he has all my coaching videos still from when we first started. So we're going to put together some sort of progression just to see, because it would be fun to look at. I would say probably 2014, after a good solid 2 years of working with Jimmy, probably a solid year of working with Jimmy, year and a half. Because the first year was just kind of, I'm just here to hang out and throw the ball and be a warm body on the team. So
sure. Yep.
2014 was when I won my all events title at women's championships in Reno. I won the Ruby division, which is the second highest division they have. And now I'm in the Diamond division, and it's my goal to win all events in that division as well, because I don't know that anyone has won all events in 2 different divisions. I was close a few years ago. I think it was 2020. I want to say, I think I finished 7th. We had a lane breakdown during singles that was frustrating. is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say probably around 2014.
Mm-hmm.
My average was up to, I think, like 189, 190 maybe. It had to be under 190 if that's the division I was in. So maybe like 185, 189.
Sure. So what's the divisions you were talking about? What's the Ruby division versus you said Diamond division? What's the difference?
So in women's champions, open championships, there are 3 divisions. There's classic, I think it's classic, standard, and regular. And it's broken up into 3 average groups. Women's used to be 3 average groups. I don't remember what they called them, but the first year I bowled it, the year I won was the first year I actually bowled it like competitively. The years before I was just filling in on teams. They had 3 divisions and then they split it into 6 divisions. So they're all like named after jewels.
Sure.
So I can't remember all of them. I know the top division, which is like 190 average and above, is Diamond division. And because everything's scratched. So I think that's why they split it up that way, so that everybody had a chance. But it went down to, I want to say it's like a 135 and under average. And that was like the Sapphire division or Emerald division.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So kind of off the sheet here, do you ever have a fear that you're not going to be, because I'm assuming when you bowl states, you're going to bowl double set with Jimmy, if you can. Do you ever have a fear because you're a pro and you start getting successful? Hey, I'm not allowed to bowl with my husband.
We had that conversation before I got my membership with the PWBA, because I believe that actually used to be a rule. In both the women's states and open states here in Maine, was that if you were a professional, you were not allowed to bowl in the tournament. And it was something, we have plenty of other stuff that we can bowl together. We've got the tournaments at Bayside. We've got NEBA. NEBA, now that we're both champions, we can't bowl doubles together anymore.
Really?
But they have I think once you hit 10 years that you've been without winning a title, you can bowl with another champion again. But currently we cannot bowl together. So we enjoy bowling together, even if it's not physically on the same team, if that makes sense. So if that rule were to ever come back into play, I mean, I would still go support him at the tournament. But I'd be okay with it.
Okay. So, and the reason we're talking a lot about Jimmy is because he is your game was in his hands and still kind of is. When you need help, he helps you. Not that you're not good. Obviously you are, but everybody needs a coach. Everybody at your level definitely needs a coach. What is it that Jimmy does that to your game that other coaches haven't done, or maybe don't even know how to do?
The biggest thing I can say for him that he does with his coaching is he has a way of relating bowling to something else in your life that you're passionate about. So he always relates it back to hockey for me, which is the sport that I was really committed to for pretty much my entire life. So he has a way of relating it back to that, or even softball. And I've watched him relate it to golf for some people, or to boxing for some people. And it's, I think that's like the key to getting them to getting people to understand things. Sometimes when you're trying to explain like what they're doing wrong or what they need to do differently, is related to something that they're more comfortable with. And he does a fantastic job of that. Excellent.
So when I first started getting to know you, you were throwing Motive. Was that because you just, hey, this ball looks nice, let's get it? Or were you ever on staff with Motive, and how did you get to where you are with you're throwing Brunswick, and now you're on staff with Hammer? So what's your ball story? How'd that get going for you?
So I absolutely just picked the balls because they were mean looking. I think the Motive, I'm impressed that you remember that, actually.
Have we
The
not
motive.
met? Do you know the stuff I remember? Oh my God. Like it's awful.
I know. I saw that in one of your questions. I was like, he remembers I threw motive. That's impressive.
Mhm.
I saw the motive cruel, I believe, was the first ball. It was black with the red logo on it. And I was like,
Mhm.
that ball looks mean. I need that ball.
Mhm.
And Scott Moore happened to have one in the shop.
Mhm.
And he was like, I'll drill it up for you. We'll get you something to throw. And I just thought they looked mean. So I liked those, and I was never on staff with them. As my game started to progress, I started taking a lot of Jimmy's hand-me-down stuff and drilling that for myself to start trying the Brunswick equipment.
Mhm.
And then once Jimmy was on staff and my game started improving and I started bowling things like Queens or the US Open, and like you said, the mini camps, when they came up here, I developed a relationship with Chuck. And anytime I bowled on tour before I was on staff, I was very well taken care of by Brunswick. They were always there to support me and help me. Guys like Chuck, John Bercier, Jeff Smith, Mike Wolf, everybody's been fantastic. Anything I needed, any questions I had, they would always check in, see how I was doing. And a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, Dave Wadka actually reached out and offered me an official contract with Deviate at the time. But we've since moved me over onto Hammer because the product licensing on staff are on tour with PWBA. We can only wear either Brunswick, Columbia, or Hammer on our shirts. We can throw any of the 7 brands, but we can only wear those 3 on our shirts. So that's why we switched from Deviate to Hammer, but I can still throw all 7, which is great.
Right. So, okay. So kind of going off the sheet here, you were talking about my memory, and I feel like it's off-putting in a way that if, like, let's say you're 37 now, and let's say you get on tour for a long time and you're successful and you have 10 titles, and all of a sudden somebody's been watching you your whole entire career. Oh my God, Mallory, I remember when you did this and when you did that. Does that creep you out, or does that make you feel good?
I think it's flattering. Like, to me, I'd rather people remember stuff than be like, yeah, I don't even know who you are.
Right. There you go. So, okay. So I guess I jumped. So the next question was, how did you come to be on Hammer staff? And that's because of the whole shirt thing and whatnot. So, right?
Yeah. Basically, it's just kind of, they switch you to a brand so you have a shirt you can wear on tour that is legal.
Okay. So what happens if you wear a shirt that is not legal? Are you fined, or do you just say, hey, look, I'm going to wear this shirt. Here's $100 or whatever it is?
I believe you get fined. I think you get a warning. And if you don't change, then you get fined. And if you wear it again, I'd say the next day, then you might get disqualified. I'm not 100% sure. I know the last time I bowled Queens before I switched to Hammer, I was on staff with Deviate, and I somehow missed that rule. And I had packed all my Deviate jerseys to go to, I think it was Reno. And I must have been at the airport or something. And somebody mentioned it to me, or I think we got an email from Dave just reminding us of that. And I was like, well, I'm already at the airport. And I had 2 Brunswick jerseys in my bag. And so I had to rotate those 2 jerseys the whole week because that was all I could wear.
Man, fun. So why are you on tour now instead of like 5 years ago?
5 years ago, I wasn't very good. I thought I was good enough. Like I mentioned earlier, I bowled the US Open probably way before I was ready to bowl the US Open. Queens every year has been an improvement. And then making the cut in Albany was like a big kind of confidence boost for me. Like, I always kind of thought I could do it. And I would do little tournaments here and there if they were close, like Rochester, Albany, Queens, when you win all events, excuse me, for the state of Maine. you get a free entry to Queens. So that was kind of an easy enough reason to go try Queens.
Mm-hmm.
And once I had that confidence boost from Albany, I was like, if I put some work in, like I can do this. And then I've got some amazing sponsors that made it possible for me to do it. Bayside Bowl, Ryan Saucier with Grand Real Estate Management, DJ Asia down from Portland. Like I've Bowler Builders, obviously Hammer. I've got some fantastic sponsors that have as much confidence in me, probably more than I do in myself. So without them, I wouldn't be able to do it, but they've made it possible for me to kind of chase this dream for at least a couple of years and see how it goes.
Right. What's the tour like compared to like you're a missed bowler, you're a NEBA bowler? I mean, how is the intensity different or the same? Is I know the shot's harder, but like what's your mindset when you're bowling a missed and something not professional versus professional?
I would say the missed shots are definitely harder. The missed and Frankie and Ding Dong shots. Those are insane, the things that those two create. But I think the mindset, like I've got friends out on tour. I made some great friends last year. And I've got a great support system out there, but you still kind of feel like you're alone. And you're very focused on yourself, where I think here, even though, NEBAs are pretty close to bowling PBA regionals. There's a lot of guys that bowl NEBA that are, PBA regional champions, and some are past PBA national champions. And we've got great bowlers that come up and bowl the Frankie and Ding Dong and Carl's tour stops. But they're all still my friends that I've known for years and years. So I feel like it's a little more relaxed because I feel like I'm kind of just hanging out with my friends and we're bowling. And yes, it's serious, but it's home. Being out on the road, it's, you're by yourself. Last year, because I didn't really have anybody that I felt comfortable being like, hey, you want a room together? I spent most of the tour by myself. Liz Culkin and I are rooming together this year. It'll be a little, I think it'll be a lot easier to feel at home on the road, if that makes sense, where I'll have someone, with me off the lanes, not just on the lanes.
And it definitely helps with the expenses.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very easy to be a professional on a video game, but to actually do it, it's like I don't know. I've heard for men it's like $1,400 a week, and that might be lowballing it, but I mean,
yeah, it gets expensive when you factor in cars, hotels, food,
and everything else you want to do.
Yeah, and then air travel because nothing's close to here. So.
Right. What was your best moment on tour so far?
My best moment on tour. Honestly, this is going to sound really weird, but probably the first time that I met Rogue. This is a girl that bowls in Illinois. And she had reached out to me before the tour because she liked my jerseys because they were kind of spooky and Halloween-y and horror movie themed. And she reached out and was like, you had this bat jersey and I loved it and I really want it. So I hooked her up with EFX and they got that jersey made for her. And I got to meet her at the Pro-Am, and it was really cool to like feel like a professional athlete and have somebody excited to meet you and want your jersey that you create. You know what I mean? Like it was, because on the lanes performance wise, like it was mediocre for me for the year. I feel like, I know that I could do better, but it was kind of that moment where I was like, man, she's excited that I'm here and this is awesome. I think that was probably my highlight on tour this past year. I'm hoping to have more of a performance related.
So have you signed a lot of autographs? I mean, I know you signed something for me. I cannot remember what it was. I still have it. But have you signed a lot?
Yeah. And I think that's what puts a lot of the added pressure on, is you meet these people that are just excited that you're a pro and they want you to sign my pin or sign my program. And then, they watch you bowl and you're like, man, I'm going to struggle to shoot 150 this game. They probably think I'm an idiot. So But yeah, it's pretty cool to meet like a lot of the younger kids. I love the younger kids. They're so much fun. They're so excited, and the ones that are nervous and can't talk to you and their parents are talking for them. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's. I went to the U.S. Open in '99 in Milford, and I was sitting next to I think an older woman, and she was just so scared to talk to the pros, and I talked to them like they're my friends even then. And I was like, come on, I'll introduce you around and whatever. And it was, yeah, so I totally get that.
Yeah.
So what was your worst moment on tour so far? Have you ever thought about hanging it up? I'm not good enough, or what's your worst? Which you are good enough.
I haven't had I think I'll hang it up moment, but I in Florida last year when we bowled in Clearwater, you know, we drilled the ball after practice. I had a great look. First squad went fantastic. I think I was in the cut for most of the first squad of qualifying, and then had a rough last game and fell just out of it. But then after lunch, the second squad was just a disaster, and I bowled myself back in for a second and then way out. That was probably the most frustrating and disappointing tour stop, because I had a good look. I felt confident. And then it all went away.
What, hold on one second. How did you start your relationship with Vice Inserts? That's the first staff that I remember you on. How did that come about?
I met Cecil Scarborough when the Brunswick mini camps were up here and the PBA was up here. Yep. And we chatted quite a bit throughout the week when they were here, and he knew that I was kind of getting a little more serious about my bowling, and he offered me a contract. So I took that, and it was really fun to have my first like official contract, like my first, this company believes in me that I'm good at this. We've since parted ways, but on good terms. I still see Cecil all the time, but I wanted to give Ultimate a try, because when I signed my first contract with Brunswick, I was all about, I'm all in with this company and their brands. So I've since switched to Ultimate, but you know, Cecil is still a good friend to see. He actually drills our balls on tour. So I see him all the time, and he's always still willing to help, which is great. So it's good that it's still a good relationship.
So I think we might have already, what's your favorite grip?
My favorite grip, as far as like
just, I have balls that feel different, and I have different grip inserts and stuff like that. What's your favorite, like, ovals or whatever? Like, what's your favorite, I don't know, like
my go-to?
Yeah.
I use the Ultimate, I think they're the black stickies, and they're the power lifts. I find that they're slightly snug compared to the Vice. Vice is a little more flexible. And I love that the Ultimate grips don't lose shape very fast. They don't seem to wear out as fast for me. And that just could be me personally. Like, I know Jimmy doesn't use grips because he goes through grips like toilet paper. I don't know a good analogy for that, but he goes through grips so fast that he was like, I just don't bother using them anymore. But yeah, I like that they don't seem to wear. They hold up very well.
Does he just there's something called bevel, and so I know Ricky Ward used to use his used to drill his, wouldn't have his balls drilled without any bevel. So like when you and it's really sharp on your ring and middle finger, so that if you grab it, your fingers are going to get all cut up like hamburger meat. Does he do that, or what does he just drill his thing just fingertip without the grips?
He just drills him fingertip without the grips. They are softened, so it's not splitting his fingers open.
Okay. There you go. So, I think we kind of covered this, but are you under any pressure? I mean, maybe we didn't. Are you under any pressure to perform in a local tournament or do you use those to get mentally ready for the tour?
I honestly, I don't know if I do use League a lot to get ready. I kind of look at League as practice.
Okay.
Local tournaments, I think I do put a lot of pressure on myself to perform, because now that, you know, I am pursuing a professional career bowling, I feel like I don't ever want to look foolish. Like, well, she can't even score here. Why is she going out on tour?
Sure.
I try to, like I mentioned before, like, you know, tournaments locally have always been fun because you're with your friends. And I try to adjust my mindset for that and try to take them a little more seriously, so that whenever I'm bowling a tournament, I'm focused and I'm in tournament mode, whether it's on tour or here or Rhode Island or New York or wherever.
Yeah. Whenever I have a ball in my hand, it's always go time. I'm never, you want to socialize, we'll go to dinner, but when I'm bowling, it's bowling.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a Miss tournament, a NEBA tournament, anything that you've bowled compared to a pro event with rules that you may or may not be allowed to do?
So one of the things that can be tough on tour, like I have the Pin Pal app on my phone. And I find my phone to be a good distraction when I'm trying to focus and I don't want to get distracted doing something else. Like if I'm just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or Amazon or something. Bowling on bowling at the US Open and Queens, you can't be on your phone. Those are USB-C rules for those two tournaments. So the other tour stops I can, but that one I can't.
Why? Do you know?
I don't.
Just a rule.
I've never asked. It's a rule. They give us topography books now. So you know, like you get a physical book when you bowl the US Open in Queens. So you know the topography of the lanes.
Yep.
Each pair you go to. So I know that that's posted on there, and I don't know if before they were trying to not let you look at, like, I don't know what, maybe it's a distraction factor. Like they don't want you to slow down the pace of play.
Sure.
Yep. If you're on your phone. I know Maine tried to do that at one point with the state tournament. That didn't go over very well.
Right.
And it's no longer a rule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say the one thing I do enjoy is that I can bowl in yoga pants when I'm bowling like a missed Frankie and Ding Dong Carl's tournament. But the NEBA rules are pretty close to the rules on tour, with the exception of the new release or the unreleased ball rule at NEBA. I'm not sure if you've ever read that rule.
Nope.
If you have a ball that has not hit the universal release date, so it's available for anyone to purchase, you can't use it.
That's okay.
I guess their theory is there were a lot of people winning because they had balls that other people couldn't get. But I mean, I look at like the John Van Heeses and the Alex Aguiars, and you can put any ball in their hand and they're probably going to beat me. It doesn't matter what ball it is.
Oh my gosh. So kind of off the sheet a little bit. If a pro, because you mentioned Alex Aguiar, how am I in radio and how am I doing this if my tongue's gonna get tripled on or whatever, dribbled on? So Chris Barnes, or your favorite pro, if he comes up to you and says, Mallory, put up $5,000, I'll put up $5,000, let's bowl 3 games, winner take all, would you ever do it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
If we're at Bayside, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah. So kind of another off the sheet. What's your bowling pet peeve?
My bowling pet peeve.
I asked you that in the flush the pocket either.
This is gonna sound awful.
Okay.
Excessive high-fiving.
Yes.
Is a big one.
Oh my God. I love you. Sorry, Jimmy. I love your wife. Yes. And sorry, honey. Yeah.
I am all about supporting everybody, and like, I will high five everybody. I will it's just sometimes like if you're in the middle of doing something else or like changing tape in your ball and someone comes up and they're like, I need a high five. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of doing something and I wasn't, or you're in a conversation with someone else. I'm like, if I see it and I'm there, I'll high five you, but like, please don't come seek me out for a high five.
Oh my God. So, okay. You're like my favorite PWBA pro now. So I'm the same way. Why do I have to touch you to show you good sportsmanship? That's basically what it is. Hey, touch me. I just got a strike. No. So I don't know. There was a woman. Listen. I'll name drop. I don't care. I was bowling at Family Fun, and I was bowling, and Linda Burrell was like, she wanted to high five me so bad that she actually saw that I wasn't doing anything, and she actually touched my knee, and was just like, I'm just like, what? Why is it so important? I don't get it. That is, and I was fine with it until I read Ryan Schaefer comment on it, and I'm like, oh my God, he's right. He's right. Why? Hey, Mallory, good shot.
It bothers me so much, but
it's just, Mallory, good shot. That's fine. Just thank you. Yeah. So that is,
and like if I'm passing you with the ball return and like I'll stick my hand out, like absolutely. If I'm kicking around the settee area, sure. But like if I'm trying to get a drink or have a conversation with somebody, like, I don't know.
Guys, I'm sorry, but this podcast is like, it's gone now. But so and that's my biggest bowling pet peeve, if you want to know, is the socialization of it.
Yeah.
And the beer drinking. So I've been outed on Facebook. Oh, why are you saying you're with Brunswick? Because you're not. Well, everybody that knows me considers me a Brunswick staffer, because if we're talking bowling and somebody's like, what ball should I buy? I'm going to mention Brunswick.
Yeah.
Any brands, and I wear their stuff, and whatever. So like Chris Johnson, former PBA Rookie of the Year, says, man, I consider you a Brunswick staffer, just so you know, or whatever. And I'm just like, wow. When Parker Bone called me in 2014, he offered me a ball. He says, I can't put a contract in your hand, but what if I send you a ball and a couple of shirts? After that, I was like, I will never drink and bowl ever again. And, so yeah, I hate the social aspect of it. I'd rather the competition.
Yeah.
So, let's see what, okay. All right. What is your highest game on tour so far?
My highest game on tour, I think it was 260 something.
There you go.
Probably. Yeah.
Do you remember the line you were playing?
No.
Okay.
I've had a few like 250s, 260s sprinkled in there, like on different tour stops, but probably something where I was playing the gutter, if I had to guess.
Oh, okay. So what is your lowest game on tour?
I want to say I had somewhere around a 130 or 140 last year. There were a couple rough ones sprinkled in there.
You still beat Tom Doherty. You know that, right?
I do.
Hey, Tom, how are you, buddy?
Tom's one of my very good friends. So
yeah. Well, I probably lost any chance of ever having him on this podcast.
He loves to talk about himself. He'll be on.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Okay, so off the sheet, if somebody gives you the oil machine for whatever you're gonna bowl, if you're gonna bowl, Mallory Clark, can oil the lanes. How are you gonna oil it so you can play out, or are you oiling it so you can start in and swing it to out?
I enjoy playing the gutter. Short patterns are probably my favorite thing to bowl on. I remember bowling Open Championships for the first time with Jimmy, and I think it was Ron Lumen's group, and we went to practice beforehand, and Jimmy was like, we got to get you playing outside, and I'm playing like maybe up 5. And to me that was outside, and he's like, no, I'm talking like 2.
1, 2,
I was
3,
like, I'm gonna throw it in the gutter.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to get comfortable there, but that is probably my favorite place to play. I'm way more comfortable playing up the outside than playing the middle of the lane.
That is something I definitely want him to teach me, is how to play out. That's my favorite shot.
Yeah.
You ever worry about companies that support you now? Like Mallory, we had some thought and thanks, but no thanks. You're on your own. Do you ever worry that you're ever going to be let go? Or do you ever just bowl and just, whatever happens? If it happens, it happens.
Yeah, I think it's kind of if it happens, it happens. I am very appreciative of everything that every company has ever done to support me, whether it be EFX with shirts or, Ultimate in the grips or Hammer Brands of Brunswick. If any of them ever wanted to walk away, I'd be okay with it. I'd probably be very disappointed, and I would definitely want to know why so I can learn from that. But I don't know that I ever put that actual added pressure on myself.
Okay. So what are your goals for the upcoming season? Do you have any realistic, or do you have any unrealistic, hey, I want to be in the Hall of Fame by 2024 or whatever?
Realistic goals, I would like to cash in at least half the tour stops this year. I would say making the cut in at least 50% of the tournaments would be a much better season for me than last year. So that's probably my more realistic goal. A slightly less realistic goal would be, making the show at the US Open or Queens, or the tour finals at the end of the year. That would, I shouldn't say it's unrealistic because anything could happen. Right. But yeah. That I think that's probably my way out in left field goal, considering how last year went, but you never know.
Well, bowling is bowling, and I get that it's different being a pro than being an am, but if you don't bowl, you don't have a shot, but if you bowl, you could get hot.
Right.
So, all right. So, bowling with bowling ball is very difficult. It can be easy. You could be lined up. You could be like, oh, I'm going to shoot 900 or whatever. And you make really good shots, and a lot of times you make really bad shots. But I want you're going to bowl with the proverbial pen and paper. And I want you, obviously you're not going to write anything down, but if you're writing down your entire career from start to finish or year 2 to finish, and whatever you write down is going to happen, what are you writing down so that at the end of your career, you're satisfied with Mallory Clark, professional bowler?
I would like to win at least one title. I would love to have my name on a banner that hangs at every tournament forever. So I'm remembered as Mallory Clark won a title on tour. That would be probably the biggest goal. But I definitely want to be one of the players on tour that other tour players are happy to be around, and enjoy being around. And I want to be a tour player that the fans enjoy, whether I'm their favorite or they have no idea who I am and I just happen to be there and we have a conversation and they enjoy my company.
You can already check that off your list.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It was a blast last year, and I met a lot of really great people and made some great friends. Women in particular can be cliquey and can be, I guess cliquey is the best word. And I don't ever want to be that person on tour. I always want to be, the person everybody's like, oh, hey, Mallory, what's going on? I like being, I can be a little bit of a social butterfly. So, but yeah, I would say probably winning at least one title would be pretty exciting.
Yeah. All right. So that in your whole entire career, you just want one title?
Minimum.
Right.
If I could go on to somehow, starting bowling later in life, we'll say, compared to the other girls, because most of these girls, they started bowling when they were 5, 6, 7 years old, and they went to college and bowled in college.
Yep.
I didn't. I was beating girls up in college playing hockey. So I kind of went in a different direction. And, looking back, I kind of wish that I would have put a little more time and energy into bowling, because I guess I didn't realize, how big college bowling was, and still is. And I was so excited to play college hockey, but you look at it now. I mean, there is a professional women's league now, but there wasn't then, and there's always been professional women's bowling, with the exception of that short time frame that the tour went away. So part of me is like, I probably should have stuck to this back when I was younger, but I loved hockey so much, it would have been really hard to talk me out of it.
Yeah, right. Are you following the Boston Pride? I don't know if Buffalo has a female hockey team, but I know that there's Boston Pride. Are you following them at all, or do you follow the women's professional league? Yeah.
I don't. There is a Buffalo team, the Buffalo Buttes.
Okay.
One of my very good friends, Linda, was the GM for that team for a while. I've watched a game here and there. I miss playing sometimes. Then I do something like playing my alumni game and realize that I'm not in the shape I was in when I was in college.
Okay.
I've had a few people ask me to play around here, and I'm just, I don't know. At this point, I don't want to risk getting hurt and causing an issue with my bowling.
Right.
So when I go to my alumni weekends, in Buffalo now, I go and more socialize and spectate at the game and hang out and just catch up with everybody I try to stay off skates at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts on the bowling ball controversy going on today? Around
like the urethane and
all that? All of it. Whatever you want to. This is your podcast. Whatever you want to say.
I know there's obviously a lot of controversy around the urethane and the hardness rule and two-handed and this, that, and the other thing. And you still have to throw the ball good. I remember, it kind of goes slightly off bowling balls, but I remember the first year that they stopped announcing the pattern for the Open Championships and Women's Championships ahead of time, because people thought it was unfair that certain bowling centers would put out the shot for people to practice before they went out to nationals.
Yeah.
And while that's all great, you're not bowling in the same bowling center. You're not bowling in the same climate. You're not bowling in the same atmosphere, the same lane surface, maybe. You still have to throw the ball good. I look at like we'll say urethane, for example. Yeah, maybe someone has an advantage throwing a purple hammer, but they probably still throw it pretty good.
Right. It's like you said, take your hardest shot that you faced at Bayside, put that at Family Fun. You'd probably have two different results, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to add a couple. You have 2 300s. What is the difference between your first 300? How nervous were you? Because I vision my first, I dream about it every time I go to bed. I'm just, sometimes it pops up in my head and, and just, where am I going to do it and stuff like that. And, am I going to piss my pants or whatever? What was your first 300? Huh?
I hope you don't.
Me too. That would be, so what was your first 300 like compared to your second?
My first 300, I was definitely nervous. I think I want to say it's on Instagram. There's a video of the last 3 shots.
Okay.
And you can tell watching those shots that the third one, like each one progressively got more nerve wracking. And you can tell in all 3 shots in the 10th. Since then, I've had, I want to say, at least 3 299s and a couple 298s.
Yep.
Each of those has kind of lowered the nerves. So the most recent 300 that I've had, I can't say that I wasn't nervous. But I didn't feel like my heart was going to pound out of my chest, or, I'm like, am I still breathing? Like, I don't know. Pay attention. It definitely gets a little less nerve wracking each time, but I think all those missed opportunities, like the 299s and the 298s or 279s even, those help kind of calm your nerves once it comes to, I just got to throw one more strike.
Sure. When you're bowling 300, do you know where you are as far as score, or are you just just bowl? All right, I'm up. All right, another strike, whatever. Are you like, what's your awareness level like when you're doing that?
It's probably for a 300. I'm aware. More so with the 800s is when I'm not aware, because I have two 800s, and both of those, after game 2, it was one of those situations where I would do like quick math, very rough, quick, probably inaccurate math. And I knew what I kind of needed and that I was close, but I would never do the exact math. And I will tell you, both 800s in the 10th frame of the third game, I thought I blew it. That's how rough and incorrect the math was that I would do. Because that's more of a, you start to like nickel and dime every shot after that. 300, sometimes we'll get close to the 10th and I'll be like, oh, it's the 10th. Like, but yeah, it's more so on the 800s that I have less awareness of what's going on.
So you shot 815 at Yankee in Brunswick. How sad are you that place is gone?
That was really disappointing. I think for me personally, and I've said it to a few people, what's mostly disappointing to me, more so for the people that bowled there their entire life, is someone that bowled there their entire life is the one that closed it. I mean, I don't think he bowled there much towards the end, but it was such a big center and it's a relatively large piece of property. So me personally, I feel like they could have cut the building in half, got rid of the bar and restaurant they didn't use, got rid of the lower, like, I don't know, 12, 16 lanes, and still had, excuse me, a car dealership and a small bowling center, and had 2 businesses. But
is that what it is now, is a car dealership?
Yeah.
Wow, God.
Yeah.
That's my biggest, it's one of my bowling regrets is I haven't won a title there, and that sucks. That's, but all right. So we're going to do a thing called going flush in the pocket. I don't know when the last time it was you bowled 300. I know it's been a while, but it's going to be the easiest 300 you ever bowl in your entire life.
Okay.
You just need your voice. So 12 questions here. Favorite food?
Either chicken parm or tacos, but probably chicken parm.
Okay. There you go. Best advice ever given?
Oh, that's a tough one. In regards to bowling, probably just try to relax and have fun. I know, right? Even if you're not being overly social, like, still keep the love of the game. That was probably the biggest reason I stopped playing hockey, is for a while, it wasn't fun for me anymore. And I don't want bowling to be like that.
I find myself now that, like, I love to bowl, and when I have to bowl, I'm cutthroat and I'm ready. But when, like, my girlfriend and we don't bowl, she comes to support me, but we have never bowled because I know how I am when I bowl, and I just can't turn it off.
Oh, that's funny.
It is. I mean, it kind of is. Yeah. So just for fun, what was the worst advice ever given?
Probably when someone it's kind of funny. Sometimes, where I mentioned earlier, I'm not great playing on the inside, like the inside part of the lane.
Sure.
I'm uncomfortable there. Sometimes I'm not really confident in my ball motion on the back ends. So I practice there a lot. When I practice. So if I go into practice, I'm not going out to try to shoot 300 while I practice. I'll typically go out to work on hand position or to stand in the part of the lane and throw the ball in the part of the lane where I'm uncomfortable, just to visually get more comfortable there and physically. And I've had so many people, mostly older gentlemen, come up to me and, sweetheart, you don't need to be playing there. That's not where we're going to strike on this shot. And I was like, sweetheart. Yeah. I'm practicing. Yeah. And clearly you don't know what I am practicing. So.
How annoying is that? Somebody calls you sweetheart just because you're female.
Oh, yeah. That's. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine
I'm
somebody.
mean. I'm not a sweetheart. I'm mean.
Yeah, right. So I broke one of my rules. So this is gonna be 13 questions or whatever. But
That's okay.
Yeah. Favorite music?
Probably rock. I'm a big Rob Zombie fan.
Okay.
Love Rob Zombie movies and music.
Okay. I would not be caught dead at one of his shows only because of like it's so loud and the pyro and all that. Oh
yeah.
no.
We went with the Gouldings actually a few years ago and saw him in Connecticut. It was a fantastic show, but yes, lots of pyro, very loud.
Wait a minute, you hang out with left-handers?
I do. Don't tell anyone.
Damn. All right. So what's your favorite vacation spot?
My favorite vacation spot. Honestly, I couldn't tell you the last time I went on a vacation that was not bowling related.
Oh.
Okay. I actually made this joke with Jimmy the other day. I was like, can we just go on a cruise or like go somewhere tropical and go on a vacation? Because I've never done anything like that.
Oh, I kind of want to see Jimmy in a grass skirt. Go to Hawaii, please.
We'll get him a coconut bra and everything.
Yeah, there we go. Favorite time of day?
Bedtime.
Really?
I'm so gassed at the end of the day. I'm like, is it bedtime yet?
Oh, there you go. Favorite bowling moment as a fan?
Probably as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say watching it would be in its entirety, probably the PBA league at Bayside the very first year they came here.
Mm-hmm.
That was electric. That was insane. That was probably more exciting to watch and be a part of than any hockey game, baseball game, football game, any other professional sports game that I've been to. Because it was back when the bowling center was only a 12-lane center also.
Yeah.
So everything, Doherty had actually said once that he goes, it felt like the entire state of Maine was in that building.
Mm-hmm.
So that was insane to be a part of.
Right. I think mine was when Parker won a King of the Lanes match, and when he was King of the Lanes, because I'm as you know, I'm best friends with Parker, and I've never seen him bowl individually in person, just the PBA league, and then to see him live in person become King of the Lanes for a bit, I was nuts. I was like, I was posting on Facebook. I was screaming my ever loving, what off, and it was just, I think that's definitely mine.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
He was my favorite growing up. He was my favorite pro growing up.
Oh, so let's see. So, do you have? I can't believe I asked you this early. Do you have another bowling pet peeve other than the high fiving?
Other than the high fiving, I think maybe probably actually with lane courtesy, people that, because in reality, and I could be wrong, but lane courtesy, you shouldn't be going into your delivery until the person next to you is at least like on their way back. Mm-hmm. And it's the people that sometimes I think just the minute you let go of the ball, they grab their ball and go. And that startling moment of someone right next to you.
Yep.
When you're turning around and come back, I don't love that. There's certain people that I notice do that, and I will not bowl if they are next to me until they are done.
Yep.
Because I don't want to be run over.
No. We got a guy, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. We got a kid. I don't know if you met Reese Perkins, but he's severely autistic, and he just gets up there and like I'd have to tell him, hey, don't. I saw you in my peripheral when you were bowling. Don't do that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite non-bowling sports moment as a fan?
Non-bowling sports moment as a fan? Probably watching the Red Sox win the World Series in 2004.
You're a Sabres fan and a Red Sox fan.
I know. I'm a mess.
That's all right. I'm a Cowboy fan, so I mean,
me too.
Are you really? All right, there
Yeah.
you go. There we go. So what is a bucket list item that you want to cross off your list before you pass?
Bucket list item. She's at this point probably beat my husband at a bowling match that actually like counts for something.
3-game total pins on Bowl TV. I called it. Let's do it.
That would be great. We bowled each other round 2 of the Bopo All-Star bracket on Wednesday night, and he destroyed me that game. So
wow,
we've bowled. That I think makes 3 times that we've bowled against each other. The first time was like some fun tournament that Charlie threw together last minute, and we bowled in the finals. And he beat me. And then probably, honestly, my favorite was we bowled a NEBA tournament. I don't remember where. It was a huge bowling center. And the first cut, you go to an eliminator round. And after the eliminator round, I think it was half the field moved on. And I was close to I knew I was close. So he was way to the right and I was way to the left. And we're walking the lanes and I'm trying to figure out, I'm like counting scores that were above mine. And I'm trying to figure out like, oh, I'm close. And I walked by Keith Lang and Keith looks at me and goes, I think you and Jimmy tied. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, I think you guys tied for the number. I go, oh, that means a bowl off, doesn't it? And he's like, it does. No. So we had to stay on our pairs that we bowled the eliminator round on, which there was probably 20 lanes between us. So there were 2 small groups watching us bowl. And he did end up beating me. But it was so funny because there were other couples that bowl NEBA as well. And like the wives and girlfriends were like, we're cheering for Mallory, just to be clear. I did not win either.
So Jimmy's really intense. Very emotional. He's not emotionally vocally. It's more with his fist pumps and whatever he does.
Yeah.
Does he, when you guys bowl against each other, is he softer or is it,
No.
You're not my wife right now. You're somebody else. You're in my way.
I think so, honestly.
Wow. Okay.
But I always tell him when it's closer, if I beat him like in league or something and he gives me a hard time, I'm like, this is your fault. You did this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't think we have one person watching. I don't think it's him. So I'm going to ask you this one. Do you have a celebrity crush?
A celebrity crush.
And it can't be Rasmus Dahlin.
I don't even know who that is.
He plays for the Sabres. How do you not know who that is?
Oh, I'm not like a diehard fan. Like it's my team.
Okay. Yeah.
Because growing up, I never watched hockey. I just played hockey. And then when I went to Buffalo to college to play hockey, a lot of my friends would go to Sabres games and be like, oh, come with me. Let's go to a Sabres game. And I just went to so many games that I was like, I guess I'm a fan now.
Okay. So you're a Sabre fan like I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm casual. I root for them, but I am a drop dead diehard Bruins fan. Oh my God. So celebrity crush.
I should have thought about this one before today.
It's okay.
I always joke that I have an old man celebrity crush. 2 of them. Richard Brake and Bill Moseley. Because they're my 2 probably favorite horror actors. So I always joke with Jimmy. I'll be like, we have to go see this movie. My old man crush is in it.
Oh man, that's awesome. If you could have, yeah, sure. If you could have dinner with 3 people living or past, who would they be?
Do they have to be celebrities or
no?
Anybody?
No, absolutely anybody.
I'm gonna this is gonna be sappy. I would say I'm gonna go with 4 people, not just 3.
Go right ahead.
Probably my grandparents. All 4 of them had passed before our wedding, and that was probably the saddest thing for me on our wedding day was that none of them were there. And Jimmy was actually in the same boat as well. So it was, I had my step grandparents there, Gail and Norm, and they're fantastic. And I was so happy that they were part of our day. But I've done so many things since they've passed that I've wanted to tell them. And that would probably be the best thing for me.
Sure.
My grandfather, my grandpa Bill, was a huge sports fan. And he used to bowl way back in the day. And I actually have one of his trophies in our trophy case from like 1960 something or 1970 something. I have his old patches. I actually have one of his old bowling shirts also. It's like a super heavy cotton polo that's like solid red, and the sleeves are red and white striped, like the long way.
Yep.
It's a very unattractive shirt, but it was my grandpa's.
His name on the back?
It's his, I think it's on the front.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like hand embroidery, like it's real old school. But yeah, probably my grandpa Bill. I would love for him to have seen me bowling on tour and doing what I'm doing with bowling now, because he was such a big sports fan.
So I have two more questions for you. One, flush in the pocket, and then I'm just gonna ask you a random question. Favorite weather season?
Fall. Okay. I love the fall because I'm roast. I'm like a tiny furnace. I'm always hot. So fall or winter, I enjoy being cold.
So I want to give a shout out real quick to Avery for getting engaged to AJ Chapman. I did not. Wow. I mean, she's moving up in the world. I mean, I guess I'm doing something wrong. I mean, or was. I mean, that's to date a pro bowler. I mean, that's awesome for her. And now she's engaged. So big shout out to her. I mean, I'm assuming you're going to be maid of honor.
Oh no.
No.
Probably not.
No.
I'm so happy for them. That was really exciting. And I was so happy that Jimmy and I got to be there and be a part of it. We were they didn't know we were there. We were just kind of lurking in the shadows, and I borrowed my brother's camera so I could take some photos for them.
Sure.
Ange and I had talked about it. But yeah, that was exciting. And it's so hard to think that she's engaged and she turns 22 today. It's her birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Avery. Yeah.
Yeah. And I still remember meeting her, and she was this sweet little girl that loved my pumpkin cupcakes that I made. And I'm like, what happened to that little girl? She's an adult now. It's so crazy.
So I bring her up because she was talking about, because the PBA now, everything is on Bowl TV. There's no more Flow Sports. It's all on Bowl TV.
Yep.
And she was saying something about, because I don't know if she could watch AJ Bowl or whatever it was. You couldn't pick your pairs. Is that how that is? I mean, what are your thoughts on the Bowl TV?
So you can pick the pairs you want to watch on Bowl TV. And Flow Bowling you could as well. I believe was it Extra Frame before?
Right.
Yeah. Extra Frame you couldn't. I think you maybe sometimes had two cameras to choose from. I think sometimes a lot of it, honestly, I think is like the connectivity in the bowling centers.
Sure.
And I think the Wi-Fi sometimes isn't the best. So I think that's where the problems come in. But me personally, I prefer, the Flow or the Bowl TV over Extra Frame before, because I felt like you always saw the same people over and over and over again. And I like now that you can go through and select whatever pair you want to watch. Because when I do, Jimmy watches it when I bowl, because the PWBA is on Bowl TV. So unless you happen to fall on one of the pairs that doesn't have a camera, he can select wherever I am and watch me bowl. And when I watch the men's tour, I do enjoy going and finding the players that I like to watch and watching them. But it can be frustrating if they do like eliminate some cameras, or if some of them aren't working and you can't watch, who you want to watch, and it's the same people over and over.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, Mallory, thank you very much for doing this. I hope you had fun.
Absolutely. I had a great time.
So tell all your friends, because I mean, you're a big shot now. So
maybe.
I mean, tell all your friends to get on this, and I will definitely set up an episode for them. And yeah, that was thank you so much for doing this, and I will talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on here, and I will see you in Bangor for states.
Absolutely. And don't forget Monday. So don't forget Monday, we got Bob Learn Jr. Monday at 8. And Wednesday at noon, we got Martin Larson. So
fun.
Yeah, it's gonna
He's
be
a
awesome.
ball. He's a good time.
So he actually saw me get my foot run over. Do you know about that story? You do, don't you? Okay. So, so you know John White?
Yes.
Okay. We were going, and I'm sorry to drop names, buddy, but this is fun. I can laugh about it now.
Right.
So it's Friday when they're doing the taping, all the shows that they were taping.
Yeah.
And Friday morning we go, and he's like, "All right, get out of the car. I'm gonna go park, and you just get in line," because he thinks you can get a good seat at Bayside Bowl. You can't. So anyway, I get out of the car, and I'm like barely out of the car, and he moves the car, runs my foot over.
No.
Yeah, runs my foot over.
Oh
so
my
I'm hobbling. Check this out. I'm hobbling in there and moving around and whatever. All of a sudden, I get an autograph from Stu. Okay. And he says, "Hey, are you going to go get your foot looked at after this is over?" And your answer better be yes. I said, "You know about that?" He's like, "I was right there." I'm like, "Oh, shit."
Oh my God.
I'm like, because I know Martin was there. I'm like, "Oh shit, Martin's right there." And and it was it was nuts. I just couldn't believe it. So now I don't know if you watch Beef and Barnsey.
Occasionally I do.
For a little bit, I was known. I made a comment, and Stu said, "Oh, Derek, he's the guy whose mate ran his foot over." And I'm like, "Oh, great. I'm tied to the PBA forever. My dream has come true. That is awesome."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So listen, I am, I hope that doesn't happen in September. And yes, I'll ask you, I will ask you this on camera, and don't worry. I'm not proposing, people. Do you want to bowl doubles?
Let me see the schedule. We probably could.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we might try to come up 2 different weekends. I'm in the middle. Oh God, it's Friday, isn't it? I actually have to touch base with our group and make sure everyone that said they were going to bowl is going to bowl still. Sweet. But yeah, we can look at the schedule and we can put something in. I'm sure. I think we're going 2 weekends.
Sweet. So, because I think Wes Parker and I and like Jimmy, Wes Parker, you, and Jimmy and I, would all be a hell of a team. I think we should try to set it up.
Yeah, I'll talk to Jimmy tonight when he gets home from league, and we'll see what we can put together.
Perfect. I wasn't trying to use this to get that. I want everybody to know I was not trying to get anything from Mallory. I legitimately, I had her, so I figured I'd ask her. Mallory, thank you so much for your time, and good luck in your upcoming endeavors on the PWBA tour and everything else you do.
Thank you so much, Derek.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, so that's Mallory Clark, and yeah, I was, like I said, was not trying to get anything out of her. I just, it's like one of those times you have somebody and you're going to ask them something. Hey, by the way, can you do this for me or whatever? So yeah, Mallory Clark, what a story. She's got an interesting story, and she's a very good person, and I wish her nothing but the greatest of luck in her bowling life, out of her bowling life, and whatever she wants to do. So coming up on Monday at 8 p.m., we have somebody who has bowled 44 out of a possible 48 strikes on TV. He shot 300, 279, 280, 270. I think he shot 270. Anyway, he shoots 279 in the final game, I think. Anyway, I'm talking about Bob Learn Jr. from Erie, Pennsylvania. He lives in Tennessee now. So we're going to chat with him Monday at 8 p.m. So that's in 3 days. So you can look forward to that. Also on Wednesday, so it's a busy week, we have Martin Larson coming in at noon. So have lunch with me, have dinner with him, because it's about 6 o'clock Sweden time. I almost said Singapore, but Sweden time. So that's going to be some great shows coming up. And we also have Corey Kitchener on the docket. And, that will happen. I can announce that because I have that episode written up. So, and I can announce anything whenever I want because this is my podcast. So please like and subscribe. And hopefully you enjoyed. I enjoyed talking to Mallory, and I enjoyed doing this. So I will talk to everybody on Monday. Be safe, everybody. Have a good one.